the World Health Organization are saying that the UK are going to be one of the first countries, right at the front of the queue, to get beyond COVID, right? This is what Dave Nabarro's been said. So close to Dave Navarro, by the way, the guitarist. But anyway, Dave Nabarro from the World Health Organization says that, yeah, we are one of the first countries that will reach the end of the pandemic. Is it as straightforward is that vaccines? Is that, in one word, vaccines? When we compare to many other countries, we have a high take-up of vaccines first and second dose. We have a high uptake of the booster to fight Omicron, to stop it from the figures being worse.
I think vaccines, probably, in one word, vaccines, if I had to put one word down, I'd say just vaccines. But I think it's a bit more nuanced than that. Because as Pascal Soriot, who leads AstraZeneca, has speculated, there are also differences between what the UK did and other countries did. And one of the things the UK did was to use heavy use of AstraZeneca's vaccine, which may in and of itself translate into a different form of, and perhaps longer form of, more robust or more resilient underlying immunity.
Really?
And so that's part of the equation. The other reason he's saying that is that if you look at Europe, and you've said, we have steered around the politics, but, I really do have to say, I don't think Emmanuel Macron or Angela Merkel did vaccination any favours with our European neighbours, because they said very vituperative things about AstraZeneca's vaccine. And as a result, they killed its brand image and they really undermined public confidence in Europe to the extent that vaccine uptake in general was quite poor, and still is in some parts of East Germany, Angela Merkel's homeland, and eastern parts of Germany. Uptake there is very, very low. And, I work with an infection control nurse. She's from former parts of Eastern Europe. And when she went home to visit her family before Christmas, she said, that there are probably one person in three has actually been vaccinated. Wow. So by undermining confidence in the vaccine, A, they left their population vulnerable, but also there was very low uptake of AstraZeneca's vaccine. These are the countries that are now seeing bigger problems with subsequent waves of virus. So perhaps what Pascal Soriot is saying has credibility. The other thing that we did in the UK was we widened the gap between the first and the second dose of the vaccines. If you remember, this time last year, there were those announcements when we had Jonathan Van Tam and others saying, we've got data to suggest that actually, and I remember Chris Whitty standing up at the Downing Street press briefing saying, we now are faced with this issue that we've got a big surge in cases. We know the first dose of the vaccine does a lot of the heavy lifting. Statistically speaking, it makes a lot more sense to go in hard and vaccinate as many people as possible, and to do that by widening the gap between them rather than concentrating on a more limited pool of people and giving small amounts of additional protection. And it turned out to be a really, really good idea and has saved enormous numbers of lives. In Europe, they did not follow suit. They went along with a much narrower, at least initially, gap between the two vaccines, and that may also have translated into a more rapid drop-off in immunity. So their immunity wasn't as long-lived before they came along with boosters, and that may also be why they've had a stormier course. Whereas we in the UK, perhaps that's one of the reasons why we've weathered it better. We don't know, but it's speculation.
There's a lot of over 40s like myself feeling very smug now about what Chris said about, the hindsight of AstraZeneca may just provide that longer protection. Because, Chris, it always felt like the cheaper option. It always did.
Well, you did it to me because you sort of said, okay, you stand at a table and there are two vaccines there, Pfizer, AstraZeneca. You've got to pick one of them. Which one do you want?
You take the Pfizer because it's more expensive. It's human
and often
nature.
The price tag is a giveaway. But I mean, therein lies another important concept, which is AstraZeneca said, because of, I think, pressure from the inventors at the University of Oxford, they said this is going to be made and distributed at cost. And so they have literally done it at the price at which it costs to make and distribute it, whereas other entities have profited very heavily from making these vaccines. Yep. So I mean, we've got to acknowledge that AstraZeneca did an amazing thing, and they have saved many millions of lives, I think.
Yeah.